are at stage 5, paragraph page 333. Okay, and our last headword was cheese, newer type of lesson. Okay,
Okay.
so let's start with revision. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, here you go. First question. Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? Are the bottoms of your shoes clean? No. The
No,
bottoms of
the
my
bottoms of
shoes
my shoes
aren't clean.
aren't clean.
They're dirty.
They are dirty.
Very good. When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our shoes are dirty, what should we do? When our shoes
When
are
our
dirty,
shoes are dirty,
we should clean them.
we should clean them.
Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? Which do you think is the cleanest city you know of? I think
I think Singapore is
is
the
the
cleanest
cleanest
city
city I know of.
I know of.
And which do you think is the dirtiest? Which do you think is the dirtiest? I think
Uh, I think ABC city
is
is
the dirtiest.
the dirtiest.
Very good. Which do you think is less unpleasant, the dirt of the city or the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc.? Which do you think is less unpleasant, the dirt of the city or the dirt of the country, of the farm, etc.? I think
I
the
think
dirt of the
the dirt of the city
is less unpleasant
is red unpleasant
than the dirt of the
than the
country,
dirt of the
of
country
the farm,
and of
etc.
the farm, etc.
Very good. Okay, do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Do you remember if you were afraid of the dark when you were a little child? Yes or no?
Yes,
I
I
remember
remember
I was afraid
when
of the
I was
dark
afraid of the dark
when I was a
when
little
I
child.
was a little child.
Very good. Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Would you be afraid to go round the world in a small open boat? Yes or no?
No, I
I
don't.
wouldn't I wouldn't
I
be
wouldn't.
afraid
I wouldn't be afraid
to go
to
round the world
go around the world
in a small open boat.
in a small open boat.
Very good. Do people shake when they feel very afraid? Do people shake when they feel very afraid? Yes. People
Yes,
shake
people
when
shake
they
when
feel
they
very afraid.
feel very afraid.
Very good. What's the best way to guard against becoming ill? What's the best way to guard against becoming ill? The best way
The
to
best
guard
way to
against
guard
becoming ill
against becoming
is
ill
to eat healthy food,
is to eat healthy food,
sleep well,
sleep well,
and do exercise.
and do exercise.
Greg, must we be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street? Must we be on our guard when we buy something from a man selling things in the street? Yes, we
Yes,
must be
we must
on
be
our guard
on our guard
when we buy something
when we buy something
from a man
from a man
selling things in the street.
selling things in the street
Why? Why? Because maybe
because
we
maybe
won't be
we,
able
we won't be
to
able
find him again
to find him
if there's
again
a problem
if there are some
with the
problem
thing we bought.
with the thing we bought.
Greg, what's the opposite of on your guard? What's the opposite of on your guard? The opposite
The
of
opposite
on your
of
guard
on your guard
is off your guard.
is of your guard.
Very good. What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? What's the best way to calm somebody down when he's very angry? The best way
The best
to
way
calm somebody
to
down
calm somebody
when
down
he's very
when
angry
he's very angry
is to speak
it is
quietly
to speak
and
quietly and
pleasantly to him.
pleasantly to him.
Are we having calm weather at the moment? Are we having calm weather at the moment? Yes or no?
Yes,
We're having
we we are having
calm weather at the
calm
moment.
weather at the moment.
Very good. What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? What are the two ways of forming the second conditional with the verb to be? The two ways
The two
of
ways
forming the
of
second
to,
conditional.
to,
Well, the two
to
ways
the two ways
of forming
of
the
forming
second
the
conditional
second conditional
with the verb to be
with the verb to be
are if I was
are if I
and
was
if
or
I were.
and if I were.
If you're a millionaire, where would you live? If you're a millionaire, where would you live? If I were a
If I were
millionaire,
a
I
millionaire,
would live in.
I would live in the space
Why? Why? Because
because uh, I try to feel zero gravity,
no gravity. That's correct.
no
No
gravity.
traffic also. Okay. Okay, if I were you, which language would I speak? If I were you, which language would I speak? If you were me,
If you were
you
me,
would speak.
you would speak Japanese.
Very good. If you're a queen, what would your husband be called? If you're a queen, what would your husband be called? If I were a
If
queen,
I were a queen,
my husband
my
would be
husband
called
would
a
be
king.
called a king.
Where if there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? If there wasn't a light in this room, would we be able to see well when it got dark? No. If there
No,
wasn't a
if
light
there wasn't a light
in this room,
in this
we
room,
wouldn't be
we
able
wouldn't be
to
able
see
to,
well
to see
if
well.
it got dark.
If it dark, the dark,
We would see badly.
we would see battery.
Very good. If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? If there weren't any food in the world, would we all die? Yes. If there
Yes,
weren't
if there weren't
any food in the
any
world,
food in the
we
world,
would all die.
we would all die.
If you weren't you, who would you like to be? If you weren't you, who would you like to be? If I weren't
If I
me,
were to
I
me,
would like to
I
be
would like to be uh,
the prime minister.
the prime minister.
Why? Why? So that
So the
you can say so that I can declare more
so that
holidays.
I declared
More
more
holidays.
holidays.
Very good. Okay. Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Yes, we can
Yes,
use
we
the
can use
expression
the
if
expression
I were you
if I were
to
you
give advice
to
to
give
somebody.
advice to somebody.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. If I were you,
If I were you,
I would eat
I
more
would eat
vegetables,
more vegetables,
or I wouldn't buy
or I would buy
that car if
that
I were
car
you.
if I were you.
Very good. What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? The biggest problem
The biggest problem
in my life
in my
at the
life
moment is
at the moment is running English.
very good. Give me some advice. Give me some advice, please. If I were you,
If I were you,
I
uh,
would.
try. I would. I would study hard.
Very good. Okay, next. What's another opposite of the word lose besides find? What's another opposite of the verb lose besides find? Another opposite
Another opposite
of the
of
verb
the
lose
word lose
besides find
besides find
is win.
is win.
What are the three forms of win? What are the three forms of win? The three
The
forms
three
of win
forms of win
are win, one,
is
one.
win, one, one.
Does your country usually win at football? Does your country usually win at football? Yes or no?
No,
My country
my countries
doesn't usually
usually
win
doesn't usually win
at football.
at
It
football.
usually
It
loses.
usually loses.
Do you do the lottery? Do you do the lottery? Yes or no?
No,
I don't do the
I
lottery.
don't do the lottery.
Very good. If you won £1 million, what would you do with it? If you won £1 million, what would you do with it? If I won
If I
a
won
million pounds,
a million
I
pounds,
would.
I would get a new computer.
Very good. More than like 10 computers you can. Okay, is this pen useless? Is this pen useless? No, that
No,
pen isn't
that pen
useless.
isn't
It's
useless.
useful.
It's useful.
Very good. What do we do with useless things? What do we do with useless things? We throw
We
useless
throw
things away.
useless things away.
What are the two most useful things you possess? What are the two most useful things you possess? The two most
The two
useful
most
things
useful
I
things
possess are
I possess are my phone and the PC.
very good. Do you think that what you're learning now will be useful to you later on in life? Do you think that what you're learning now will be useful to you later on in life? Yes or no? Yes.
Yes,
I think that
I think that
what I'm learning
what
now
I'm running now
will be useful
will
to
be
me
useful to me
later on in life.
later on in life
Why? Why? Because it will help
because
me
it will help me
get work
get
and
work
speak to people
and speak to people
from other
in,
countries.
from other countries.
Very good. Okay, next. What's the contraction of I would? What's the contraction of I would? The contraction
The
of I
contraction
would
of I would
is
is
I'd.
I'd.
What's the contraction of you would, he would, and she would? What's the contraction of you would, he would, and she would? The contractions
The
of
contraction
you would,
of
he would,
he would,
and she would
she would,
are
and she would are
you'd,
a
he'd,
you'd,
and she'd.
he'd, and she'd.
Right? If you went to the cinema this evening, which film would you see? If you went to the cinema this evening, which film would you see? If I went
If
to
I
the
went
cinema this
to the
evening,
cinema this evening,
I'd see.
I, I'd see Super Mario.
Very good. If I were you, which language would I speak? If I were you, which language would I speak? If you were me,
If you were
you'd
me,
speak
you'd speak
Japanese.
Japanese.
If a plant had no water, would it die? If a plant had no water, would it die? Yes. If a
Yes,
plant
if a
had no
plant
water,
had no water,
it'd die.
it it what it'd
It'd
die.
die. Right? It would die. It'd die.
It'd
Very good.
die.
What's the contraction of bookwood? What's the contraction of bookwood? The contraction
The
of
contraction of
bookwood
booked
is book.
bookwood is booked.
Very good. What's the contraction of lessonwood? What's the contraction of lessonwood? The contraction
The
of
contraction
lessonwood
of listened
is lesson.
is listened.
What's the contraction of who would? What's the contraction of who would? The contraction
The contraction
of who would
of food
is hood.
is food.
What's the contraction of what would? What's the contraction of what would? The contraction
The
of what
contraction
would
of what would
is what.
is what would.
What's the contraction of which would? What's the contraction of which would? The contraction
The
of which
contraction
would
of which would
is which.
is whiched.
Very good. If you lost your way in a large city, who do you ask? If you lost your way in a large city, who do you ask? If I lost my
If
way
I lost my way
in a large
in
city,
a large city,
I'd ask a policeman.
I'd ask a policeman.
If today were Sunday, what would tomorrow be? If today were Sunday, what would tomorrow be? If today
If
were
today's
Sunday,
for Sunday,
tomorrow'd be Monday.
tomorrow be Monday.
Very good. Okay, next. When office workers are too busy to leave their desk for lunch, do they often just have a quick sandwich? When office workers are too busy to leave their desk for lunch, do they often just have a quick sandwich? Yes. When
Yes,
office workers
office worker
are
when
too busy
are too busy
to leave their desk
to
for
leave
lunch,
the desk for lunch,
they often just have
they often just
a
have
quick sandwich.
a quick sandwich.
What kind of things do we put in sandwiches? What kind of things do we put in sandwiches? We put meat,
We put meat,
cheese, egg,
cheese,
etc.
eggs, etc.
in sandwiches.
in sandwiches.
Very good. Okay, that's the end of our revision. Let's have new words.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, repeat. Fault,
Fault,
faultless,
fortress,
faulty,
faulty,
fix.
fix.
Very good. Okay, listen. Fault is a noun. It is the synonym of mistake. For example, if a student makes a mistake in his pronunciation or grammar, it's usually his fault, but it could sometimes be the teacher's fault. Faultless is an adjective. It means without mistake or without faults. For example, your pronunciation isn't usually faultless. You sometimes make mistakes. Faulty is an adjective. It means not working properly or not made correctly. For example, my computer is not working. It's faulty. Fix is a verb. It means to correct or repair something. For example, if my computer is faulty, I don't know how to fix the fault. Let's practice. What's your biggest fault? What's your biggest fault? My biggest fault
My biggest
is
fault is I lost my wallet.
very good. If your computer was faulty, would you know how to fix the fault? If your computer was faulty, would you know how to fix the fault? Yes or no?
Yes,
If my
if
computer
my
was
computer
faulty,
was
I'd
faulty,
know
I
how
I
to
know
fix the fault.
how to fix the fault.
Very good. Are your dictations usually faultless? Are your dictations usually faultless? No. My
No,
dictations
my
aren't
dictations
usually
aren't
faultless.
usually
They
faultless.
usually contain
They
mistakes.
usually contain mistakes.
If a student makes a mistake in his dictation, is it usually his fault or the teacher's fault? If a student makes a mistake in his dictation, is it usually his fault or the teacher's fault? If a student
If a
makes
student
a mistake
makes a mistake,
in his dictation,
can his this dictation?
one more, if a student
If a student
makes a mistake
makes a mistake
in his dictation,
in his dictation,
it's usually his
it's
fault,
usually his
but
fault,
it could
but
sometimes
it could
be the
sometimes
teacher's
be
fault.
the teacher's fault.
Very good. Next, repeat. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Very good. Okay, listen. Okay, here we go. Okay and all right have the same meaning. Okay, so let's practice. What can we say instead of okay? What can we say instead of okay? We can, instead of
Because
okay,
instead of
we
okay,
can say all right.
we can say all right.
Very good. Next, repeat. Compare.
Compare,
Comparison.
comparison,
Have something in common.
have something in common.
Very good. Okay, listen. Compare is a verb. It means to consider the difference between two or more things that are similar. For example, we can compare Michelangelo with Leonardo da Vinci because they did similar work. But we can compare Michelangelo with Napoleon because they were two completely different kinds of people who did different kinds of things from each other. Comparison is a noun. It is the act of comparing two or more people or things. Have something in common means to have something similar to each other. For example, if I want to make a comparison between two people or things, they must have something in common. Let's practice. Can we compare Michelangelo with Napoleon? Can we compare Michelangelo with Napoleon? No, we can't
No,
compare
we can't compare
Michelangelo
Michelangelo
with Napoleon.
with the Brilliant,
With Napoleon.
with Napoleon,
Why not? Why not? Because they were
because they
two
were the two
completely different kinds of
completely
people
different kinds of
who did
people
different
who
things
did different
from each
things
other.
from each other.
Very good. What must two people or things have if we want to make a comparison between them? What must two people or things have if we want to make a comparison between them? If we want
If
to
we
make
want
a
to
comparison
make a comparison
between two people
between two
or
people
things,
or
they
things,
must have
they must have
something in common.
something in common.
Very good. Next, repeat. Ice.
Ice,
Cool.
cool,
Very good. Okay, listen. Ice is a noun. It is water that has frozen into a solid water or solid state. For example, we put ice in beer, tea, or whiskey. Cool is a verb. It means to make something slightly colder. For example, we use ice for putting in drinks to cool them. Let's practice. What do we use ice for? What do we use ice for? We use ice
we use
for
ice
putting in
for
drinks
putting in drinks
to cool them,
to cool
etc.
them, etc.
Very good. Next, repeat. Pour.
Pour,
Very good. Okay, listen. Pour is a verb. It means to put some drinks in a cup or glass. For example, I'm pouring some water from a bottle into a glass. Okay, let's practice. What am I doing? What am I doing? You're pouring
you are
some
pouring
water
some water
from a
in
bottle
from a bottle
into a glass.
into a glass.
Very good. Next, repeat. Unite.
Night.
Very good. Okay, can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, one moment. The website just stopped. Okay, so
Oh,
very good. So let's just move on to our reading.
okay.
Okay, so our reading. Okay, one moment. Our reading is at stage 4, paragraph page 221. Last headword was physical. Okay, start
Okay.
with soldier, army, make money, uniform.
Mhm. Okay. Is this
Hello?
to
Okay, if
ah
we get we get disconnected, just stay and I'll be back. Okay.